What's up, headbangers? This is Dustin. Welcome to Heavy Metal 101 Reviews. I started this channel, God, it had to be close to 2 years ago now. And what I was trying to do was show my own journey of trying to discover new to me music. So I like heavy metal. I'm a heavy metal fan, but I know there's a lot out there that I'm not familiar with. I know a lot of it is has some notoriety or is well known and well loved in the heavy metal community, and I just haven't been exposed to it. So that's why I wanted to start this channel, but it didn't really wasn't really going anywhere. But we're going to try to revive it here. I got a friend here who's going to try to help me out.
Hey, what's going on, guys? My name's Chris, and I've known Dustin for not too long, but a couple of years, I think. We met through another community. Our mutual friend Jason sent me a link to Dustin's channel, and it was something I wanted to be a part of. I am an avid heavy metal fan. I guess an avid music fan because I'll listen to anything from Enya to Cannibal Corpse and everything in between and above and below. So I grew up in a musical household. My dad was in a band in the 60s. Matter of fact, he opened up for the Amboy Dukes. I don't know if you know who they are, Dustin.
I do.
You do? Yeah.
Yep.
So my dad was in a band called the Spiders, and they opened up for Amboy Dukes. And my uncle, he's a musician. So we got a lot of musicians in the family. But I guess, I kind of I was an 80s kid. So I grew up listening to Michael Jackson and things of that nature. And what got me into metal was my sister got Metallica's Black Album on cassette from my uncle, and she absolutely hated it. So I took it. And as a matter of fact, I played that tape so much, I actually wore it out and it broke. So that's what kind of got me into the metal thing. It was unlike anything I'd ever heard before. I think the closest thing to that would probably be like the Beverly Hills Cop soundtrack was as close to, that was about the heaviest thing that I knew of up until that point. But then that set me down the pathway to Soundgarden and all the alternative stuff from the 90s. And middle school, high school, I got into the darker stuff, the Cradle of Filth, the Dimmu Borgir, Cannibal Corpse, Napalm Death, Deicide. And so, yeah, it's kind of where I came from and my background with music.
I think that's a lot of those bands you mentioned will probably end up checking out because I'm not familiar with very many of the bands that you mentioned. My first experience with hard rock was my aunt. She was in high school when I was a kid. She's my mom's younger sister, and I would sit in the back of her car and she would play Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap, that album, AC/DC album, on cassette tape, and I'd sit in the back and I just memorized the entire album. And I was exposed a little bit to Metallica. I don't remember how or when. About the mid to early 90s, I moved to a different town and became friends with a kid who was a big Pantera fan. And that sort of grew me like in the early 90s when everybody was listening to Nirvana, Stone Temple Pilots, stuff like that. I was listening to Pantera, White Zombie, and Megadeth. Those were pretty much what I was listening to. So I'm not a huge grunge fan. I do like some of it. I don't hate it, but like I'm not a big Nirvana fan. I do love Alice in Chains and Soundgarden because they're closer to heavy metal than they pretty much are heavy metal. Whereas the other alternative bands, Pearl Jam and stuff, not quite heavy metal. So yeah, and then I guess in college I started listening to Black Sabbath a lot more. I was familiar with them for a long time, but not like closely familiar with them. So they're one of my favorite bands now. Pretty much Black Sabbath, AC/DC, Pantera, Megadeth. Those are probably my 4 favorite bands. But I listen to all kinds of stuff. I was just listening to Johnny Cash radio on Pandora on the way home. So I like a variety of things. I like folk music and some of the earlier soul and R&B stuff, like from the 50s and 60s. So big variety of stuff.
Yeah, I think the 50s and 60s was very influential and had a very big impact on me. Not so much the 70s, and I think that's my dad had kind of gone beyond music by that point, so he didn't really care for the 70s stuff. He was more into the 50s and 60s, you know, the Crystals, the Shirelles, oh gosh, who else? Simon and Garfunkel and things of that nature. And that's kind of what I still gravitate to. Um, my whole family, you know, being from the Detroit area, we're big Motown fans. Motown is it's just incredible. I don't know how much you've listened to Motown, but it had a profound impact on music as a whole. But you know, you can hear still to this day a lot of the influences from that era within the music of today. I don't know if you've picked up on that, but it's still there. Song structures and um, not necessarily the style because we've really transcended that, but just like I said, the compositions is still very heavily influenced by the 50s and 60s.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I do like a lot of 70s music. So yeah, so maybe we'll be discovering some 70s music together too. Fill that hole. I know you're a musician. You've played, and I couldn't tell you what key a song is in or what the time signature is or any of that stuff. I just know what sounds good to me, what makes my head move and my toe tap. And so that's what you're going to get on this channel, though, from both of us. You'll have two different perspectives. You're going to have an honest opinion. We're not going to, I don't think we'll scrap videos if we think the song sucks. Because I know there's a lot of reviewers and reaction channels that they love everything that they watch and listen to. And I think when they do watch something that they don't like, they just sort of scrap that video. I don't think we'll do that. I think we're ready to say, hey, we hate this if we hate something.
Yeah, fair enough. I'll say, yeah, I am a musician. I am completely self-taught. I still don't really understand keys. I've learned to play everything by ear. So I'm not like a music snob or anything like that. I'm not like Periphery where I have to tune my drums to the key of the song. Like that's just ridiculous to me. I don't know if you ever heard Periphery. They're very good, but it's like it's almost too over the top perfect. Like I like that little bit of you know, when you hear like a slide on the strings that isn't supposed to be there, but they just kept it in the song. Those little mistakes that make it feel more raw. Periphery is so engineered, it's ridiculous. There's a pretty good documentary on them, and it shows you just the lengths that they go to make sure that everything sounds as perfect as humanly possible. Like I said, almost to the point of absurdity. But yeah, no, I'm not a music snob. I don't know keys and time signatures and all that. A lot of people talk about Tool and they're like, oh my God, they went from a 12/8 signature to a 4/4 to a 3/4 to a cut time, and it's like, who cares?
Right. All right. Well, I guess that's us, and that's us in a nutshell. The introduction to a reintroduction to a channel that existed a little while ago, and we're going to try to polish it up and make it better, and hopefully get some more subscribers and viewers, and get some smoke going, get a little head of steam rolling. That's it for the introduction, and we hope that you subscribe and hit the notification bell and check us out.